let me tell you a little story. The Sufi tradition Sufi means fool. That's a word for fool. And the Sufis have a wonderful character that they use to tell us very wonderful stories about. And that person is Nasruddin. And you may have heard some stories about Nasruddin, but I'm going to tell you a story about Nasruddin. One day, Nasruddin wakes up and realized that his mule is missing. So he goes next door to his neighbor on this side, and he goes next door to his neighbor on this side, searching for his mule. No mule. So he goes to the next block, searching for his mule. No mule. Searches his whole village, is unable to find his mule. And so he goes to the next village, searching, still no mule. To the next village, and the next village, and the next village, until finally makes his way around the whole world, searching for his mule, and returns to his home village, old, tired, sad, frustrated, long beard, bent over, walks down the center main street, and there's a group of people standing at the end of the street, and one says to the other, "Isn't that Nasruddin? Looks like Nasruddin." So goes up, "Nasruddin, is that you? Where have you been?" And Nasruddin says, "Oh, I lost my mule. I spent my entire life searching for him, and I come back empty. My mule is nowhere to be found." And the group of people sort of looked at each other and kind of snickered a little bit. And finally, one of them had the guts to say, "Well, Nasruddin, what is it that you're writing?" And he looked down. Sure enough, the very thing he'd spent his entire life searching for was with him all the time. So, I ask you as we begin our conversation tonight about spiritual wholeness, for what is it that you are desperately searching? Is it happiness? Is it inner peace? Is it security? Is it love? Is it healing? Is it truth? Whatever it is, perhaps if you stopped the desperate search and looked in, the very thing that you've been looking there for is here the whole time. That's the power and the message of spirituality. If any of you have heard me talk about spirituality before, what you've heard me say is that the word spirit comes from the Latin word spirare, which means to breathe. And so spirituality is about breath. Now we're sitting in this hospital, so what happens if you're not breathing? You're dead. Well, not really. We make you breathe. We have ways to do that, but we're not going to get in. I'm not a clinical person, so I can't get there with you. But what I do know is if you're not breathing, you're dead. And so when we talk about breath and spirit, there's a whole lot of people walking around out there not very alive. And so when we talk about spiritual wholeness, how fully alive are you? And that's truly a big part of this question. It's about breathing. It's about breath. It's what gives us life. It's how it is that we experience all that life is about. It's what gives us excitement and enthusiasm. And it's also the glue, or what helps us stick together. That's true personally, and it's true for us as a group and community. So that's how we're going to spend our time tonight, is talking about the way. And it's about going inward so that as we go inward, where our life is, we have the energy to go out. If you don't go within, you can't go without. And if you go without, without going within, you go without. So let me give you another image. And that's the image of an archer with a bow and arrow. And this is my very favorite metaphor for talking about what it means to meditate. And so what you know is that the archer puts the arrow in the bow and pulls back. So if the archer puts the arrow in the bow and pulls back just a little bit, what happens? It doesn't go very far. So what happens if the archer puts the arrow in the bow and doesn't pull back at all? Falls down. So if the archer pulls way back as far as possible, when the archer lets go, that arrow is able to hit the target, right? If it's pointed in the right direction. That's for another whole topic. That's what it means to meditate. Because I would venture to say that every single one of us in this room has a desire to hit our targets, to make an impact with our lives, to be effective in what we do, to have all that happens out there be meaningful and fulfilling and significant. And how many of us know that we need to pull back? So we do it just a little bit. And then we wonder why, kerplunk. Or we don't do it at all, and we wonder why things don't work the way they need to work. Whether it's our relationships or our jobs or our physical health or whatever all it is. In terms of spiritual wholeness, the ability to go within, to pull back, is absolutely necessary in order for us to have what it takes to do what we do in this world. That is an absolute guarantee. So all of us, well, maybe I won't speak for all of you, but a lot of us will be thinking that January 1 comes, no more sugar. I'm going to work out every day. You know, what happens January 1st at the women's club? You know, it's packed. And, you know, someone like me who's a regular, somebody that works out, you know, you get really frustrated because they come and take your machines. But it only lasts for a couple of weeks, you know. So we're so focused on outward. But thinking about how can I begin to pull back, and the 100% guarantee, if you make an effort to pull back, starting with 1 minute a day, or with one breath a moment, it is absolutely a guarantee that you will have more to go out and be productive and make an impact with your life. There is no other way. There is no other way. You have got to go here to go here. You have got to go here to go there. And that is absolutely countercultural to our world, because our world is calling us out all the time. How many TVs do we have in our houses? One in every room. How many telephones do we have? I mean, it's like we're always connected. But are our relationships any deeper? Is everybody having a cell phone, talking in the grocery store and wherever they are, and driving down the street is the big one? Are our relationships any deeper? It's about pulling back, going in, so that I have the power and the energy and the ability, with full strength, with wholeness, to move forward. Live simply. I know that don't anybody go walk by my office, because it's a disaster. And I know when things are piled up and there's clutter and there's everything around on my outside, that is a message to me that I need to pull back. That the clutter around us distracts us. And we, once again, are in a society and in a world that is anything but simple. As a matter of fact, I've had this poem running through my mind, And I heard it about, it's been several years ago, and every Advent season or this winter solstice time season, this comes back to me. And it is, ring the bell that still can ring, forget the perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So our ongoing, that was supposed to be perfect. But humility is also part of spirituality. So thanks for your patience with that. Living simply. What does that mean? Does it mean sell everything you have and live with nothing? Only if everything that you have gets in the way of your ability to live simply. Does it mean get rid of your SUV and buy a Toyota Prius or ride a bike? Only if your consumption and your consumerism takes you away from living simply. It's not about what you have or what you buy or what you wear or what you look like. It's about what does all of that stuff do for you? Is that your identity? Is that what's important to you? Is that what you have to have? Is it about stuff? Is it about out there? Is that what makes you you? How is it that we come to a place of being stripped to nothing and acknowledging that in that is everything? I don't have to have. I'm not defined by what I own or what I drive or who I hang out with or what my title is. Who am I really? Who am I when I take all that stuff away? And again, in terms of spirituality, and as we think about this very sacred season, and I don't want to get off on a conversation about religion because that's not spirituality. For many of us, religion is an expression of our spirituality. For many of us, religion gets in the way of our spirituality. But all of us are spiritual. But when we think about it, when I think about God, and I think God's probably thinking, oh my gosh, these people, why don't they get it? Because the expression of Jesus in this world, I think, for God, wasn't about Jesus. It was for God to say to us, I, God, holiness, sacredness, divinity, is in you, and you, and you. And what did we do? Oh, it's in him, Jesus. And to the extent it's in him, Jesus, we don't have to look at the mirror and see God here. So when we think about, again, simplicity, how willing am I to take all that away and look in the mirror and see reflected back the presence of God? Because that's the power of the incarnation. God, light, bursting forth into human world and transforming it. But we messed it up and we just put it all in this one person. And what this one person is supposed to do is say, it's not about me. It's about the oneness of each one of us with God. And so in terms of living simply, how do we align ourselves from what is transcendent or above us or beyond us or sacred with what is very upfront and personal in our very human, everyday, ordinary lives? That's what living simply means. Alignment. My God, my source, my sacred, and I are one. And so throughout these next weeks and months, to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, I know you, so I can use your name. I am God being K. I am Mary. I am God being Mary in the world. I am the full expression of divinity in this world. Do I have it all? No. That's why I need you. That's why we need each other. Because when we look around this room, the fullness of the divine is present. And my ability to see that is about simplicity. Work with integrity. The word work actually comes from the Greek word meaning to worship. So when whoever decides what words are going to mean, when they thought about what we do with our lives, and for us now it's about how do we share our gifts and talents in service of others, in whatever way we do that. And we call that work. So that word, when we thought about how we do that and what we do with our days, the people that figured out what we were going to call that associated that with worship. And so when you think about work, and all of us spend time working in some form or another, have you ever thought about it as worship? Do you think about it as, yeah, right. Do you think about it as what I do with my time that is acknowledging my gifts and talents, who I have been created to be, to share in service of others with praise and thanksgiving? That's work. At least that's what it was intended to be. And so when we think about working with integrity, is it show up at 8, leave at 5, get a paycheck, and then so that I can go on about what I really want to do with my life? That's not working with integrity. Working with integrity, and what I think the word integrity means is, does what is going on inside translate with what my behaviors and what I do and how other people see me on the outside? Is there a connection? Is who I am here integrated with what happens out here? We talk about that as walking our talk and all those kinds of things. But when we think about integrity for ourselves and we think about working with integrity, does what I do with my life match who I've been created to be? Are my gifts and talents, my true gifts and talents, being expressed in how I spend my time every day in service of others? It's very easy to be in a hospital and think, well, sure, this is a wonderful way. But if it's not a person's gifts and talents in service to others, that's not working with integrity no matter what it is that you're doing. You can do anything. You can be the dishwasher. And if you are sharing your gifts and talents in service of others through that particular activity, that's working with integrity. And when you're working with integrity, it doesn't really matter how much money you're getting paid, because there's enough. Become compassion. What does it mean to become compassion? When you came in tonight, you wondered about an ability, or my ability, to talk to a group about the meaning of fellowship. So what is fellowship? It's relationship. What is compassion? It's relationship. Compassion, and you've all heard this, and I'll tell you another story, and it's kind of a crazy thing. I don't even know what made me think of it right now. But when I was a senior in college, all done, and you're getting ready to graduate, and I needed like one more class that I could choose from, elective, I guess. And so I thought I wanted something really easy I didn't have to work very hard at. And so I took this class, and it was etymology. Etymology is the study of words. And I thought, how hard can that be? Holy cow, it was the hardest class I'd ever taken in college the whole time. But as a result, I've learned some appreciation for what the true meaning of the word was. And when we think about that, it gives a whole lot of depth. So compassion, passion. And oftentimes we talk about compassion is to suffer with. But passion isn't just about suffering. Passion is a whole lot, it's that deep, whatever's going on in here, again, stirring. It's the highest of joy, and it's the highest experience of despair. Passion for life, and passion for the struggles that we have. And we've all been there. And we know what passion is, and we know what passion is. And compassion is about acknowledging relationship. What good is it to be passionate if there's nobody to share it with? And what good is it to be in the midst of passion if there's nobody to share it with you? And so being compassion is being a human being able to relate with others. Spirituality is not about me and God, or me and the divine, or this. It's about this, so that this. And if in fact I get stuck here, then my spirit is not alive. If in fact I get stuck here in a place that becomes judging and criticizing and condemning, my spirit is not alive. I'm dead. I'm not breathing. But as I acknowledge this alignment, being compassion brings me here. It's about connection and relationship and acknowledging that we are all, every one of us, all of us in this room are, we're all women. We all live in Missoula. We're pretty similar in a whole lot of ways. But even if we had men in here, and even if we had a lot more diversity in here, what we would find out is there's a lot more about us that is common than is different. Being compassion is not seeing the differences. Being compassion is seeing what unites. And again, in conversations that I've had with people about spirituality, and in some references about their expression of their spirituality in religion, does your spirit, your connection to your spiritual tradition or spiritual reality, does it make you more loving and joyful and inclusive? If it does, that's a good indication that things are in alignment. Or does it make you more turned inward and exclusive and serious? If it does, you need to check that a little bit. Because spirit is about life, not about this. Spirit is about all of us, not about only the ones that are just like me. And so being compassion is about relationship and inclusion and what unites and joins us, and how it is that we feel within ourselves in a way that unites us to one another. Compassion and heart is what brings us together with others. This is the way. Meditate, live simply, work with integrity, be compassion. This is the way to spiritual wholeness. And acknowledge the power of your own breath, which connects you to spirit, and knowing that spirituality is truly about going within so we can go without with power. And I use power in the most, let's just say wonderful sense of the word. Power is not bad. There's a lot of wonderful power in this room right now. And what we want is to be powerful women in what we do. There's a little piece, wisdom for women. Wisdom is really the feminine aspect of God. from the Greek and Hebrew, the word Sophia is the word for the feminine quality of God, which is wisdom. And I've just been very envious of any women who are blessed to have the name Sophia, because it's God. There are structured ways for how to meditate, and a whole variety of ways to do that. And is it that practicing meditation is one way to pull back. When I'm talking about meditating here, I'm talking about go in. You might call that prayer, you might call it reflection, you might call it contemplation, you might call it quiet time, you might call it whatever. You may choose a meditation practice that has a very structured, disciplined way of meditating. And you may not. But that part doesn't matter. What does matter is that you go in. However you get there, it doesn't matter. If it's 1 minute, if it's 30 seconds, if it's one breath, whatever takes you in is the critical piece. Breath is very powerful. Our breath gives our physical being, our spiritual being, our mental being life. And it gets rid of all the toxicities, and it brings in all that we need. And so it's that to get there, you got to be aware. It doesn't happen unless you're aware. Consciousness. Awake, alive. There is no body separate from spirit. So when you talk about paying attention to health or whatever, it can't just be fix my body. It's got to be aligned with all parts of ourselves. And spirituality is a critical piece to that. And I know, working here, working anywhere, people are really busy. I mean, that's like the status symbol now. If you're not busy, it's like, God, what's wrong with me? I should be busy too. That's, oh, life is really full, got a lot going on. And when we talk about pausing or meditating or pulling back or going in, that's not the thing that first comes to our mind when we've got so much to do. It's we got to do more and come in on the weekends and work longer. And when in fact, if we would pull back, take a break, go inward, rejuvenate, renew, then it would take less energy out here. But that's countercultural. And we're all afraid to try it because nobody else is. Everybody else is here on Saturday, I better be here on Saturday. Everybody else is answering emails at 3 in the morning, I better answer emails at 3 in the morning. And instead of pause, pull back, so that I can, with less energy and more impact, make a difference. Many of you have used the word mindful or conscious or awake or whatever. It isn't necessarily doing less, but it's being conscious and awake and mindful in what we do. And therefore, you can do what you do like this, stressed, or you can do it like this. In the same amount, it takes the same amount of time, but with a different focus. And I think that, again, exploring that inner peace, or that inner peace, not inner P-E-A-S, P-E, whatever, the inner peace is fear gets us there. We're afraid, what if I am powerful? What if there is divinity here? Then what? Then I can't be self-abusive or insecure or whatever. What if I am divinity in this world? And what if there's nothingness? But nothingness is everything. Nothingness is wholeness. And there's junk, but what's junk? So the inner journey and going inward can be scary. And at the same time, the beauty, I'm reminded of, I think many of you have been to Lewis and Clark Caverns, but there's some other caverns kind of over by Anaconda And I had an old uncle that always took us on hikes when we were little kids. It was called Lost Creek Caverns, hole in the ground. We'd go down in there, and it was so, all we had was, flashlights, etc. It was so beautiful with the stalagmites and stalactites and all of that, and get down to the bottom and turn off the lights, and you can't see anything, and the fear right away that comes because you can't see. But in that darkness was so much beauty. I could go to Lewis and Clark Caverns every day. In that darkness is so much beauty. But you don't know that till you go. And in relationship to that, and this is something that, that I preach often over and over and over, we all need spiritual direction. We all need a spiritual director. Well, where do we get those people? Right here. We need to talk with others about this. We can't go to the bottom of the caves by ourselves. I didn't say anything to you tonight that you don't already know. You all knew this. And the people that go to the other side and come back to us at near-death experiences, they don't tell us anything we don't already know. We know all that. But we forget it. We need to be reminded. We need to be brought back and grounded in what we know to be the truth. And it's very simple. I mean, this isn't, there's volumes and books and whatever. They all say, everything says the same thing. It's very, very simple. But not easy. Spiritual wholeness, there's a piece to that the willingness to be a little uncomfortable. We all want to be known for who we really are. We all want to be known. And especially by people that, at least on some level, are closest to us. And when that doesn't happen in the way that we just long for it to happen, it sends us off a little bit. And so again, it's part of, how do I come back to be grounded and focused and aligned? How do I be aligned here so that this has meaning and significance and purpose? How do I draw in, go inward, so that what I do here has power and influence and meets the mark? We never get there. That's the fun part, is we keep being called back to, what does it mean to be grounded and aligned? And I'll end with where I began. Each one of us is an expression of light in this world. That spirituality is about light, making its presence known in the world. And each one of us is a living example of that. It's about light, because light is a symbol of hope. And two of the greatest spiritual qualities are gratitude and hope, pillars of spiritual wholeness. If you are grateful, you are grounded. If you have hope, you are grounded. So, thank you for the ways that you are God's presence in this world, or divinity in this world, or an expression of true light in this world. And as you go home tonight and do whatever you do in front of the mirror, remind yourself that what you see there is an outward expression of light and sacred in this world. So, thanks.
Thank you.